When we leave our dogs home alone, there's always that little question in the back of our mind. Are they really okay while we're gone? That worry is totally normal, but it's also something you can really change. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 simple, specific things you can do before you walk out the door so your dog stays calmer, and you do too. If you want to reduce guilt, stress, and damage at home, stick around because we're starting with the first one. 1. Dial down the stress at home. For your dog to relax while you're away, their environment has to work in their favor, not against them. Before you leave, it's worth dialing down the overall intensity at home. Closing curtains or blinds, or at least limiting the view to the street, really cuts down on barking from excitement and that feeling of, I have to react to everything. If you also shut the windows that face especially noisy areas, the whole atmosphere feels more predictable and relaxed. It also helps to hunt down indoor noises that make your dog tense. A loud exhaust fan, a blind that keeps banging, a strange fan, appliances that keep beeping. Tweaking or turning those off before you go can be the difference between a dog half asleep and a dog stuck in constant high alert. Now, if your dog happily watches out the window without barking or getting worked up, that view can be great entertainment and you don't need to take it away. What really matters is watching how they react and tweaking your home to match how they experience being alone. Once the environment feels calmer, it's time to focus on something just as important: how you walk out of the house and what message your goodbyes are sending. 2. Say goodbye without turning it into a drama. A lot of us automatically go into over-the-top goodbye mode, intense petting, a sad, I'm going to miss you so much, and a few mini farewells before we finally shut the door. The problem is that for your dog, all of that just confirms that something huge and worrying is happening. They start stressing about you leaving, long before you grab your keys, and their anxiety shoots up. You want the complete opposite. Your leaving should feel like a boring, predictable moment. You can absolutely give attention, play, or cuddles a little while before you go, when you're not already standing there with your coat and shoes on. But in those last few minutes, treat it like any other everyday moment. Move calmly. Don't obsess over every little thing your dog does, and skip those last-minute cuddles. At the door, say a short, calm goodbye, and that's it. Just go. No speeches, no endless hugs, no stretching the moment out. And when you come back, try not to burst in like an emotional hurricane. Walk in, drop your stuff, take a breath, and once your dog is a little calmer, then you can celebrate that you're home together again. With that routine, your dog learns that you coming and going is just a normal part of their day, not some daily drama. And since they're going to stay alone, the next step is making sure there's nothing dangerous within reach. 3. Dog-proof your home for curious dogs. When your dog stays home alone, their curiosity and their mouth can become a risky combination. A bit of boredom, some nerves, and suddenly they decide to investigate the trash, a dropped pill, or that tempting cable that moves along the floor. Before you leave, do a quick walkthrough of your place. In the kitchen, put away any food that could be toxic or too heavy on their stomach. Check that there are no leftovers on the counter, and make sure the trash is in a sturdy can with a secure lid. In bathrooms and hallways, keep medications, cleaning products, and cosmetics inside cabinets your dog can't open. Then get down and check out your home from their height. Small kids' toys, batteries, socks, hair ties, caps, bits of plastic or wood, all of that is perfect material to end up in their mouth or, even worse, in their stomach. Electrical cords are another classic trouble spot. If your dog tends to chew when they're nervous, bundle or cover those cables before you go. You don't need to turn your living room into an empty operating room. You just want to clear out the most tempting and dangerous stuff. If they don't have easy access to things that are fun to destroy, you dramatically cut the chances that they'll end up in real trouble. And once your home is ready for a curious dog, it's time to leave safe, fun alternatives so they don't have to invent their own games. 4. Leave toys that keep them busy. A dog who's alone and bored is a creative little mind looking for trouble. That's why one of the best things you can do before heading out is to set up some work for them. I'm talking about scent games, interactive toys, and chews they can safely work on. The classics work for a reason. A well-stuffed Kong with part of their kibble mixed with something tasty, a snuffle mat where they have to search for little treats, or a simple puzzle toy where they move flaps or pieces are all fantastic options. These make your dog focus, use their nose, and sink some time into something they actually enjoy. It's really important that the toys are sturdy and a good match for your dog's size and chewing style. What's safe for a tiny dog can be dangerous for a big, strong chewer, and the other way around. It also really helps to rotate toys. Don't always leave the exact same ones out. Swap them around so they don't become boring. When your dog starts to associate you leaving with a fun, engaging time instead of a long, empty stretch of hours, the way they feel about being alone changes completely. And if you want to go one step further, besides giving them fun things to do, you can also watch how they're doing from a distance so you can tweak their routine. 5. Set up a camera so you know what they're doing. Putting a camera where your dog spends most of their time can completely change how you understand what they go through once you close the door. Lots of people think their dog has a horrible time, or on the flip side, that nothing ever happens at all, until they see the recordings and find out what's really going on. With a simple camera connected to your phone, you can see how long it takes them to relax, whether they bark at specific noises, if they pace around nervously, or if they actually sleep most of the time. Some models even ping you when there's lots of noise or movement, which adds an extra layer of peace of mind. That kind of information is pure gold. It helps you decide if your dog needs more exercise before staying alone, if a certain toy is frustrating instead of helping, or if some building noise is really getting on their nerves. Without that data, everything is just guesswork. But with a camera, you can fine-tune the routine and make decisions based on what actually happens. Plus, for many people, it's just comforting to take a quick look and see that everything's okay. 6. Make sure they have water and a comfortable temperature. Before you leave your dog home alone, think about something very basic. Are they going to be physically comfortable during those hours? They can't turn on the faucet or adjust the heating or AC, so it all depends on what you set up before you walk out. Make sure they always have a stable bowl of fresh water, placed somewhere they're not likely to knock it over just by walking past. If they're going to be alone for many hours, you can leave a second water source in the same room. Temperature is just as important. In summer, a closed room can turn into an oven, especially in upper-floor apartments or homes that get a lot of direct sun. Balance that with lower blinds, decent ventilation, and if needed, AC or a safely placed fan. In winter, check that there aren't constant drafts or cold patches on the floor where your dog has to lie down. You don't need to keep the whole house at the perfect temperature. It's enough to keep the main area where they'll stay comfortable. A dog that isn't too hot or too cold and has access to water will handle the weight much better and is less likely to feel stressed. Once you've covered the basics of physical comfort, the next step is picking where they'll stay and turning that spot into a safe little refuge. 7. Set up a safe, cozy room for them. Letting your dog have free access to your entire home can sound really nice, but for many dogs, it's actually the opposite of what they need. Too much space, too many choices, too many temptations. Most of the time, it works better to set up a zone that's just theirs. A room, a puppy playpen, or a properly trained crate where everything works in their favor. Think of that space as their own mini apartment. A comfy bed or blanket that smells like you, water, 1 or 2 safe chew toys, and nothing that could be dangerous if they decide to explore. If you use a crate, it's essential that it's already associated with positive things like treats and rest, not with punishment. This special zone also cuts down on damage at home and gives your dog a predictable little world. Always the same place, the same reference points, and no surprises. For young dogs, newly adopted dogs, or very insecure dogs, this can be the difference between snoozing the time away or pacing back and forth on patrol. It doesn't mean they always have to be shut in there. The idea is that they can freely go in and out when you're home, so they connect that space with calm and feeling safe and good. Only when you leave, and only if you've trained it gradually, does that area become their safe, controlled place. What really matters is that they experience it as a refuge, not as a punishment. With time, a lot of dogs end up going into their zone by themselves when they notice you're getting ready to leave, because they know that's where they feel relaxed and safe. And once their refuge is ready, it's time to get their body to a place where they actually feel like lying down for a nap when you close the door. 8. Tire them out a bit before they stay alone. One of the biggest mistakes when leaving a dog alone is doing it while their battery is still fully charged. If they've spent all morning with almost no activity and then you suddenly disappear for several hours, all that stored up energy is going to explode somewhere. Usually it shows up as barking, whining, chewing on furniture, or restless pacing around the house. Ideally, before you go, your dog should get a good walk where they can sniff, walk at their own pace, and pee and poop without rushing. If you can add a little bit of moderate playtime, even better. You're not trying to exhaust them completely, you just want them pleasantly tired, with that feeling of, okay, now I'm ready for a nap. You can also mix some physical exercise with a little mental work, like simple scent games, so they come home with both their body and mind more relaxed. A dog that's already used up some energy before being left alone usually handles that time much better, and is more likely to just lie down and sleep. And now, before we move on, just know that if you visit happydogsplace.com/gift, you can download a free guide packed with tips to make your dog's life even happier. It's full of fun ideas, helpful strategies, and all the basics every pup needs to thrive. You'll find the link in the description. 9. Put on relaxing background sound. Total silence isn't always the best option for a dog who's home alone. In lots of cases, that silence makes every little sound from the hallway, the street, or the neighbors stand out way more and turn into a trigger for barking and stress. A simple trick is to leave a bit of gentle background noise, the radio on a calm show, the TV on a low-key channel, or even playlists made to help dogs relax. Steady human voices and a constant sound backdrop help mask sudden noises and give your dog a sense of company. Just keep the volume moderate, high enough to soften outside sounds but never loud or annoying. Avoid shows with lots of sudden sound effects, loud laughter, shouting, or barking dogs. You want a flat, predictable sound environment, almost like a soft hum in the background. If you know there are specific times of day when your building or your street gets especially noisy, you can time that background sound to cover those hours and help your dog through them. And while you're making sure they're calm inside, it's also worth thinking about something very important in case they ever manage to get out. 10. Double-check their ID and your home's security. Even if you prep everything carefully, there's always a small chance something goes wrong. A door that doesn't latch completely, a badly closed window, or a visitor who walks in without warning. That's why, before leaving your dog alone at home, it's key to think about safety just in case. First, check that doors and windows are fully closed, and if you have a yard or patio, make sure the fence doesn't have any gaps your dog could squeeze through. A quick check before you head out can prevent a lot of needless escapes. When it comes to ID, make sure they're wearing a comfortable, properly fitted collar with a tag that clearly shows your phone number. If their microchip info is also up to date, that's even better. If your dog ever gets out because they're scared or someone makes a mistake, that simple tag can be the difference between hours of panic and a quick trip back home. If they're going to stay in a crate or playpen, check that there's nowhere their collar could get caught and adjust everything to keep risks as low as possible. The point is for them to be properly identified, but also physically safe in the space where they're staying. And even though all these measures give you a lot of peace of mind, the real key is teaching your dog, little by little, how to be alone without having a hard time, which is what we're going to walk through step by step in the next part. Train being alone gradually. A lot of dogs have never really been taught how to be alone. One day their family just started leaving for hours and hours and expected them to get used to it. That's how many separation anxiety cases start. The key isn't to suddenly leave them alone for a long time, it's to build that skill slowly, little by little. Think of being alone like a muscle you're training. You start right inside your home with very short absences. Step out of the apartment or the room for 3 to 5 minutes, leave a food toy or something they enjoy, and then come back calmly without throwing a big celebration. Your exit and your return should feel boring and predictable. Repeat these tiny exercises several times a day. When you see that your dog stays relaxed during those few minutes, move up to 10, 15, and 20 minutes. A camera can help a lot here so you can actually see what they do when you're not there. Whether they sleep, stare at the door, or start freaking out, if you lengthen the time and you start to see barking, whining, or restlessness, it doesn't mean your dog is doing it wrong. It just means you went too fast. In that case, go back to the last time frame where they were calm. Repeat that stage a bit more, and add calming activities like simple sniffing games or stuffed Kongs. Over time, your dog learns that your departures are just part of the routine, and that you always come back, every single time. You're not teaching them to tough it out. You're helping them feel safe and relaxed when you're not around. Respect the limit on how long they can be alone. No matter how easygoing your dog is or how well they handle being alone, they're not a statue. They have physical and emotional needs that set a reasonable limit on how many hours they can stay home alone. The clearest one is their bladder. They simply can't hold it forever without going out to pee. As a general rule, puppies can only hold it for a few hours at a time. A simple guide is that their age in months is roughly the maximum number of hours. So a 3-month-old puppy shouldn't be left alone for more than about 3 hours in a row, and a 5-month-old puppy around 5 hours tops. For healthy adults, the absolute maximum is usually around 8 hours, but ideally, you don't push it past 6. Beyond that, it's not just their bladder that struggles. Their emotional well-being takes a hit too, because we're talking about a social animal that needs interaction, walks, and real mental stimulation. For senior dogs, especially from around 8 years old and up, that capacity often drops again. Depending on the breed and their health, they might only be comfortable between 2 and 6 hours before needing to go out again, and there will always be dogs who are outside the average, for better or for worse. So if your routine regularly means long absences, training being alone isn't enough on its own. Set up human help when you can't be there enough. Some people, thanks to their work schedule, can arrange things so their dog doesn't spend too many hours home alone. But if your workday is long or your commute is complicated, the most responsible thing is to accept that you need help. That's not a failure. It actually shows how seriously you take your dog's well-being. It's you stepping up for them. You've got a few options. One of the most common is hiring a trusted dog walker who drops by in the middle of the day to take your dog out, play with them a bit, and break up the long stretch. Another option is asking a family member or trusted neighbor to stop by, take them for a short walk, and make sure everything's okay. For very social dogs or people with really long schedules, dog daycare can be an amazing daytime solution. There your dog gets company, stimulation, and planned rest breaks instead of spending 10 straight hours just staring at the door and waiting. The idea is simple. If you know your dog is going to be alone longer than they can reasonably handle, set up a plan B so they don't have to weather the storm in silence. That Together with everything we've covered in this video is what makes the difference between a dog who just survives your absences and a dog who handles them with calm and confidence. With this, you now have 10 key things you should do before leaving your dog home alone so they can stay much calmer and safer. Now that you know how to take better care of them when you're not there, the next step is understanding everything they feel for you. That's why I recommend watching the video that's on screen right now, where I walk you through 20 signs that your dog truly loves you. Tap the image to open the video and find out if your dog loves you even more than you think right now.